Suddenly, the zombie virus broke out. I desperately clung to the door, pleading with Chen Hao not to abandon me. However, he mercilessly kicked me several times in the chest, while his mother stabbed my hand with a knife. And his little mistress even smashed my head with her high-heeled shoes as I was mercilessly torn and devoured by the zombies, my flesh and blood being ripped apart. Enduring unbearable pain, the smug sneers on their faces were deeply engraved in my mind. When I was reborn, I left them a few knives, and then left with a swagger. I hid among the abundant supplies I had stockpiled, lying comfortably, filled with a burning desire for revenge. Ah! I gasped for breath, waving my hands continuously, but in front of me, apart from that familiar door, there were no terrifying zombies, nor the stench of rotting flesh and bloodstains. I carefully examined my body. My internal organs were intact, and all my limbs were in place. When I took out my phone to check, I discovered that the time had actually returned to 7 days before the zombie outbreak. I was reborn before I could fully accept this fact. The door of my house was pushed open. My boyfriend, Chen Hao, showed his face and asked with a puzzled look, "What are you screaming about outside? Did you buy what Mom asked for?" This scoundrel. The moment I saw his face, a revenge plan immediately emerged in my mind. I used all my self-control to calm myself down, and followed him into the house. The air conditioner was on in the living room. Chen Hao's mother, Yang Yufan, and his so-called cousin, actually his mistress, Yang Wei, were sitting on the sofa, enjoying themselves. The moment she saw me, the smile on Yang Yufan's face disappeared instantly. She shrieked, "You Tong Tong, did you buy what I asked for?" Then I remembered that today Yang Yufan had asked me to buy her skincare products. She deliberately found fault, saying that what I bought was wrong, and she wouldn't let me buy them online, forcing me to make several trips in the sweltering heat. I took out the anti-aging cream that cost several thousand yuan, and directly threw it at her, and Yang Wei's feet. The cream instantly shattered. Yang Yufan was so startled that she shrieked, "What are you doing?" With a sullen face, I was too lazy to explain. Chen Hao and Yang Wei quickly rushed to protect her, and questioned me about what was going on. Look, they were the real family now. I just wanted to go back to my room, and digest the fact of my rebirth. But Yang Yufan obviously wouldn't let me off easily. She rushed over, raised her hand, and was about to slap me, shouting, "You bitch, pay for my cream." I was well prepared. I grabbed Yang Yufan's hand, and gave it a hard flick. Her hand was flung away, and her slap landed squarely on Yang Wei's face. Yang Wei's face immediately swelled up. Since it was already the end of the world, what was there for me to endure? Before they could react, I walked into my room. I fell onto the soft bed, not crying, only sneering, although I had been reborn 7 days earlier. But for me, the moment Chen Hao threw me out seemed like it had happened just a few hours ago. The zombie virus had been spreading for half a month according to Yang Yufan's request. She was in charge of the food at home. But no matter how much we saved, the supplies at home were quickly running out, so the three of them decided to throw me out to feed the zombies. How ridiculous. I only found out that day that Yang Wei was already pregnant with Chen Hao's child when I desperately clung to the door, pleading with Chen Hao. He treated me so cruelly. Yang Yufan stabbed my hand with a knife, and Yang Wei smashed my head with her high-heeled shoes. That kind of despair was more terrifying than death in this life. I will definitely make them pay a heavy price. I was about to go out when I reached the door. I heard their conversation outside. "Mom, I usually tell you not to be too harsh on her, but you just won't listen." Before Yang Yufan could speak, Yang Wei spoke first. "Brother Hao, how can you take her side? It seems you're still infatuated with that bitch. Do you not recognize me as your mother anymore? You too. Don't forget that she's the one paying the mortgage for this house. What if you drive her away? Will you pay for it?" The other two immediately fell silent. Yang Yufan's voice sounded again. "Then what do you want me to do? Apologize to that bitch?" He just before they came to find me, I pushed the door open and walked out, smiling obsequiously. "Auntie, it's all because of this damned heat. I just couldn't control my temper. How about this? I'll treat you to a luxurious trip. How about it?" Luxurious. Yang Yufan, as expected, only heard these two words. She came over to look at my phone with me. I showed her the most expensive travel package. The luxurious introduction on the page made her mean and sharp-featured old face break into a smile. She kept saying that expensive was good. Expensive was good. Yang Yufan had always looked down on me as an online sales anchor, scolding me for being improper, saying that I was not worthy of her college-educated son at all. But she had no qualms about using the hard-earned money I made as an anchor. I suggested that Chen Hao also take annual leave and go together as expected. He was tempted and immediately took leave. Seeing Yang Wei's envious look, I quickly said, "Yang Wei, you should go too. Help me take care of Auntie and Chen Hao." As expected, Yang Wei didn't refuse and sweetly called me Sister Tongtong. I held my phone and said to Chen Hao, There isn't enough money in my card, can you pay for it for me first? The commission from my previous sales is about to be paid out, I'll pay you back double then. At first, Chen Hao was reluctant, but when he heard that I would pay him back double, he immediately happily paid for this luxurious trip. Even Yang Yufan didn't stop him. I sneered in my heart even though we lived together. This scoundrel still insisted on splitting everything with me once. When I needed money for dojon, I borrowed from him and returned it a few days later. He still gave me the cold shoulder for several days. I can only say that in my previous life, I was really a big fool, taking Chen Hao as my everything. That night, I searched for information in the living room all night the next day. Watching them excitedly discuss the trip and pack their luggage, I felt extremely disgusted. But I needed them to leave the house for a few days. I made an excuse to go to work. In fact, I drove my wheeling van, which I used for hauling goods, around to look for a suitable house. Finally, I found a top-floor apartment in a suitable location. I immediately contacted the landlord, negotiated the rental matters, and then couldn't wait to find a decoration company. The information I found last night was extremely useful. The house didn't seem safe no matter how I looked at it. I asked the decoration workers to replace all the glass with one-way bullet-proof glass. Although the original windows already had anti-theft nets, I still thought adding an internal anti-theft net would be safer. The curtains should be completely opaque even though I'm living on the top floor. I won't be careless. I was most dissatisfied with the anti-theft door of this commercial housing. After replacing it with a heavier and thicker one, I asked the workers to install a sturdy iron door outside. One more line of defense is definitely not wrong after all. I've already seen things more terrifying than zombies. The decoration worker was dumbfounded. He asked, "Little girl, what on earth do you do?" I had to perfunctorily tell him that I was afraid of burglars and had acrophobia. After paying the rush job fee, the decoration started. Then I hurried to another place and ordered solar panels. After the boss and the workers rushed to start the work, I went to order batteries and gas cylinders. The tasks for today were completed. I dragged my tired body home, planning to have a good rest and continue purchasing supplies tomorrow. Surprisingly, there was no one in the living room at this time. Yang Yufan should be out dancing square dance. A while ago, she led a group of old ladies to seize the basketball court. By sleeping on the road, she definitely wouldn't miss the opportunity to show off. I opened a bottle of drink myself, but vaguely heard strange sounds coming from the guest room. When I walked over and listened, I almost vomited. "Brother Hao, do you like me like this? Can I call you hubby?" "I like it. I like my dear wife the most." They must have thought I was at work, so they were so unscrupulous catching them in the act of adultery. I found that I could be so calm inside, even able to record while shopping on my phone. After taking a shower, I locked the door and went to sleep. The next day when I got up, Chen Hao didn't seem guilty at all. Instead, he was very considerate and said that he knew I was tired from work, and he slept in the living room last night. I suddenly remembered how many nights Chen Hao had used this excuse. Before, Yang Yufan glared at me. "As a woman, no matter how tired you are, you can't let my son sleep in the living room. Without parents, you just don't know how to serve a man." I quickly said I didn't dare, sneering inside. "As a woman, not only can I make your son sleep in the living room, but I can also make your son lie dead in the living room." The three of them happily carried their luggage and went on a trip. After closing the door, my eyes immediately turned cold. I took out all my bank cards and jewelry to take stock. Sadly, I found that Chen Hao had never given me a single piece of jewelry. I didn't forget that on Yang Yufan's birthday, Chen Hao asked me to give her a jade necklace in front of Yang Yufan. He hugged me and proudly said that we bought it together to honor her. A text message notification interrupted my painful memories. When I opened it, my mood turned from gloomy to sunny. The commission from my previous live streaming finally arrived, coupled with my savings. Buying supplies definitely wouldn't be a problem. It's really funny, I secretly saved money to pay off the mortgage and proved to Yang Yufan that I was worthy of Chen Hao now. I still drove the wheeling van to pick up goods. After all, as an online salesperson, I knew quite a few local agricultural product bosses. I made several calls, and they all gave me preferential prices and offered to deliver the goods to the house I rented. To avoid attracting attention, I asked them to pack the goods in unmarked cartons for me. When I arrived at the supermarket, I used the excuse of company procurement and directly found the manager to place an order by the box. Seeing a big customer coming, the manager took me to the air-conditioned room to comfortably make my selections. I bought all kinds of self-heating foods, instant noodles, biscuits, cooked food cans, fruit cans, tea, coffee, various dried foods, melon seeds, potato chips, spicy strips, dried meat, candies, chocolate. Seasonings, of course, were indispensable besides oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, etc. There was also Leia Gamma, the national goddess. I also ordered a lot of frozen foods, fruits and vegetables. I would ask them to deliver the goods after I bought a freezer. There were also pots, bowls, ladles, knives, chopsticks, spoons, induction cookers, gas stoves, water purifiers, kettles, kerosene lamps, fans, manual and rechargeable flashlights, radios, walkie-talkies. I didn't know how long I would be alone after the end of the world, so I specially chose comfortable mattresses and sofas, bedding, towels, slippers, various bathroom supplies, tissues and sanitary napkins. Watching the large truck being filled up, I felt elated. Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly saw a lot of kitchen knives beside me. Seeing the words Zhang X Quan, I smiled and asked the manager if he could give them to me. Manager was surprised. "What does the boss want these for?" "They are all going to be returned to the manufacturer." I casually made an excuse, and the manager gave me 3 knives after having a simple lunch. I rushed to the pharmacy, but because of the current drug control, I had to go to many places to buy all the medicines I needed: fever, reducing, anti-inflammatory, cold antibiotic, vitamin medicines, various disinfectant solutions, gauze, bandages, and wound healing plasters. I ordered dozens of barrels of bottled water from a store near the rental house, thinking it still wasn't enough. I went to buy several large water storage buckets and rainwater collectors. Living alone would definitely be boring. I went to buy books and 10 laptops and tablets. I downloaded all kinds of movies, TV shows, music, and single-player games. After 2 days, the rental house was finally renovated. The delivery teams from the supermarket and the manufacturers were mighty. Although the people in the community were curious about this scene, they lost interest as soon as they heard that I was moving. Finally, I sorted out all the reserve supplies and filled the house, but I still felt it wasn't enough. I hired people to carry several loads of soil up, bought a lot of vegetable seeds and fertilizers, and also brought back several pots of strawberries. After leaving the flower market, passing by a hardware store, I went in and had a look around. I bought some tools I needed in case of an emergency. I would tie a knife to a stick to protect myself when paying. I accidentally found some useful tools. I bought a bunch of helmets, anti-cut gloves, telescopic batons, and portable flamethrowers. After a busy day, looking at the neatly arranged supplies, I finally let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, my phone rang, notifying me that the express delivery had arrived. The express was delivered to my former home. My heart leaped with joy, and I immediately drove back. What I bought were home used surveillance cameras, so I needed the 3 of them to be out of the house, so that I could arrange everything to not miss any exciting scenes. I installed 2 cameras in each room, and even one at the door. I also replaced the kitchen knives I had ordered before. By the way, I sorted out the food and left them with enough for 2 or 3 days. In the first few days after the zombie virus outbreak, people would be the most panicked and ignorant after the food ran out. I was really curious about what Chen Hao and his mother and mistress would do. Just as I was about to leave, Chen Hao actually called. I frowned and answered the phone. "What's up?" he said gently. "Have you been very busy these days?" Thinking about how many times I had been deceived by this tone of his, I almost felt sick to my stomach. "Don't tire yourself out, I'll be Tungda, baby." I leaned against the wall and retched. Then I heard him change the subject. "We'll be back tonight. Cook us a lot of delicious food." "Delicious food? How about some incense sticks and paper money? I really have something to do tonight," I said coldly. "You know my boss is not easy to deal with. If I don't go, maybe I won't even get the previous commission." As expected, Chen Hao didn't ask me to cook. After hearing this, after hanging up the phone, I felt a bit uneasy. Chen Hao wouldn't call to care about me for no reason tonight. I stayed at the rental house and happened to test the newly installed monitors. I turned on the computer and casually tore open a bag of potato chips to eat in the living room monitor. Chen Hao's family finally appeared after coming back from the luxury tour group. The 3 of them had happy expressions on their faces, completely unaware that the end of the world was approaching. Yang Yufan took out several large bags of local dried foods from her luggage. "I have to put these things away quickly before Yu Tong sees them." This surveillance camera was really good. Yang Yufan's selfish voice could be heard clearly. Chen Hao sat on the sofa, and Yang Wei poured him a drink, and then sat next to him. Looking very affectionate, Yang Yufan finished tidying up and went into the kitchen. When she came out, she started complaining to Chen Hao about my lack of sense. "A woman who can't even cook. I said the place where she works must be improper. How can there be a job that always requires working at night?" Yang Yufan was talking nonsense. "Son, there must be something wrong between her and her boss." Chen Hao's face darkened. Yang Yufan said, "Don't take it too seriously. Just think of it as raising a chicken anyway. The money goes into our family's pocket." Yang Wei also chimed in. "That's right, Brother Hao, and I'm on your side. Don't talk too much. Go cook." "Mom, Wei Wei is pregnant. Cooking is too hard." "How could Yang Yufan spoil Yang Wei? What's cooking? When I was pregnant with you, I was still working in the fields." "Yang Wei, if you're any lazier, you'll be just like Yu Tong. It won't be hard to just spread your legs outside." Yang Wei had to go cook. The high-definition camera was so good that even Yang Wei's resentful look could be seen clearly. I watched happily and tore open another bag of dried meat, but the next moment, I couldn't laugh anymore while cooking. Yang Wei suddenly ran out and said, "Brother Hao, you were worried about her cheating before. Didn't I suggest that you secretly install a positioning app on Yu Tong's phone? Now you can check where she is." I froze. A gloomy coldness spread throughout my body. I immediately took out my phone to check, and really found an app that had been deliberately hidden. I quickly pressed and held to uninstall it. But reason made me stop. If I deleted it, wouldn't I expose myself? However, as long as Chen Hao checked the routes I had taken these days, he would definitely know that I had stayed at the rental house for a long time. Even if he wasn't sure which house it was, he could definitely find out by asking. As my fiancé with so many supplies, even if it wasn't the end of the world, with Yang Yufan's unreasonable means, she could snatch them all. Even if I locked myself inside, she would make a scene outside. Then the police might be attracted. I clenched my fists and glared at the 3 people on the computer screen unwillingly. "No, I'm not convinced." I slapped myself. "Yu Tong, this is the price you pay for not seeing people clearly. Although you were abandoned by your parents, you worked hard and made your life decent. Why did you believe Chen Hao's PUA words? Serving his mother, she treated you like a chicken. Taking in Yang Wei, she directly cuckolded you." I wiped my tears vigorously. There's no time to cry. The desire for revenge and survival inspired my willy. Quickly put on a makeup, changed into a beautiful dress, and made sure that Chen Hao and the others were driving over to catch me cheating. Before I went out with the GoPro, I left my phone in the car parked downstairs of the rental house, and only took the GoPro to take pictures of the scenery. Nearby, fortunately, there was a snack street here. I pretended to be a food blogger recording a video. After all, I was an anchor with excellent speaking skills. Soon, a boss invited me in to eat. Nowadays, it's very popular for beautiful women to eat without caring about their image. I ordered 20 gin of extremely spicy hairy crabs, set up the GoPro, and started eating. The people around kept cheering for me to keep eating. I was so spicy that my tears and snot were streaming down, and my makeup was all smeared, looking like a clown out of the corner of my eye. I saw Chen Hao and the other three approaching. I took a bite of the crab leg, and the spiciness made my tears burst out. You tong tong. I turned around and saw them, pretending to be very shocked. Chen Hao looked suspicious, but Yang Yufan and Yang Wei both showed contemptuous and mocking expressions. If you're doing a food live show, why do you make yourself look so ugly? I had just wiped my face when I heard Chen Hao ask me in a disgusted tone. The more peculiar it is, the more people will watch. I retorted. I know you don't like me being so slovenly, so I've been keeping my distance from you these days. Chen Hao, you're not angry with me, are you? As expected, Chen Hao was relieved after hearing this and kept calling me baby. You're amazing. I saw Yang Wei's jealous eyes almost bursting with fire, and felt a bit of pleasure in my heart. I told them that I had been looking for delicious food everywhere these days, and this place was the spiciest and most satisfying. I had negotiated with the boss several times before getting permission to film. They definitely couldn't guess that I had installed surveillance cameras, seeing that I could even eat the extremely spicy food. They believed my words. Yang Yufan quickly asked, "How much can you earn like this?" I perfunctorily replied, "Not much, probably tens of thousands a night." As expected, Yang Yufan's eyes revealed a greedy glint. I led them to the parking place, and noticed that Chen Hao was looking at his phone and the road signs. I thought to myself that he must be checking the address since he didn't question anything. I knew I could breathe a sigh of relief listening to Chen Hao and Yang Yufan discussing openly, and without scruple, how to use my salary to buy a building. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. My expression icy. There were only 2 days left until the zombie virus outbreak. Letting them die in the mouths of zombies was not enough. Before that, I had to vent my anger. When we got home, I definitely didn't want to share a bed with Chen Hao, so I said I needed to stay up all night editing videos on the computer, and would sleep in the living room. Chen Hao said okay. And then I saw Yang Wei secretly tug at him immediately. Chen Hao changed his words, and said I could sleep in the room, while he slept in the living room. I had no objections at all. Late at night, I wasn't surprised to hear the sound of the door opening and closing in the adjacent guest room. I silently smiled, pursing my lips, and opened my phone to watch the surveillance. Clicking to record. Early the next morning, Yang Yufan went grocery shopping, and I immediately suggested accompanying her. Yang Yufan couldn't wait for me to go and pay the bill at the supermarket. She picked out all kinds of high-priced vegetables that she usually couldn't bear to buy, and bought them. Ali paid for everything, and by the way, called for a delivery service. Yang Yufan was enjoying this high-class treatment for the first time, and her mouth almost split to her ears, but she didn't know that the things were all being delivered to my rental house. When we returned to the community, everyone was starting to be active, and there were people coming and going. I secretly sent a message to a property management staff member. Our community had installed a public address loudspeaker a few days ago. I noticed this, and had a great idea in my Mindy paid someone in advance to handle things, having recorded such explosive content last night. I edited it overnight, and sent it over. Yang Yufan was still complaining that the delivery was too slow when suddenly, the loudspeaker in the community emitted a harsh sound, followed by all kinds of indescribable noises. The man was growling like a wild dog, and the woman was cheerfully egging him on. Everyone in the community could hear it clearly. Some people ran out of their balconies to watch the show. Some were laughing heartily, and some were disgusted. I looked up and saw that Chen Hao and Yang Wei had also run out. All the main characters were here. The good show was about to begin. Yang Yufan sneered. Such a woman is really shameless. Have you really never seen anyone so wanton? No, you see it every day. I asked her. What about the man? She said righteously, humph. Men are all lured away by such flirtatious women. I sneered. After the clapping movement on the loudspeaker ended, the woman gasped and said, Brother Hao, you're so amazing. I couldn't take it just now. Wei, you're still the best. You know how to make me feel good. Brother Hao, why don't you ask you Tong Tong to come back on time to cook every day? I and our son are exhausted. No problem, we can't let our son be tired. Thank you, hubby. Also, when will mom go back to live in the countryside? She always has a dark face towards me and scares our son. What if the baby is born ugly? Don't let our son be scared. I promise you in a few days, I'll lie to her that the mud-walled house is being demolished to build a new one, and send her back to the countryside. Hubby is so good to me. Kiss you. Hearing this, even the slow-witted Yang Yufan could tell who the two main characters were before she could speak. I slapped her hard across the face with all my might. I had been waiting for this slap for too long. But it wasn't enough. I slapped her again with my backhand. Yang Yufan was probably stunned by my slaps, and looked as if she was about to faint. I took out a telescopic baton from my bag, stylishly flicked it, and it turned into a long stick. I lashed her hands hard. The pain in the fingers goes straight to the heart. And what's more, the stick in my hand was solid. Yang Yufan let out a pig-like scream and glared at me, cursing. You little bitch. You damn thing. How dare you hit me? The people around gathered. I immediately shouted. How dare you curse at me? The whole community now knows about Yang Wei hooking up with Chen Hao. Didn't you bring Yang Wei here? And you said she was Chen Hao's cousin. The onlookers all showed contemptuous expressions. Yang Yufan felt guilty, but out of habit, she started to act shamelessly. Suddenly, with a fierce expression, she pounced towards me, looking no different from a zombie. Damn it. I kicked her and directly sent her into the nearby pond. Yang Yufan screamed in pain as she climbed up and still wanted to come and strangle me. Wasn't afraid at all. Yang Yufan, your dear son is coming with his mistress. She secretly colluded with your son to send you back to the countryside to live in a dilapidated house. What's the use of hitting me? Hearing this, Yang Yufan was indeed taken aback. She turned to look at Chen Hao and Yang Wei, who were running over, her eyes filled with vicious and cold hatred. This was truly a way to destroy someone's spirit. I coldly watched as Yang Yufan shouted "little bitch" and pounced towards Yang Wei, immediately knocking down Yang Wei, who was exhausted from last night, to the ground and continuously slapping her face. Chen Hao didn't even look at Mei, pushed his crazy mother to the ground and helped Yang Wei up. This scene obviously irritated Yang Yufan, but she didn't dare to hit her beloved son. She could only sit on the ground and start to act shamelessly, pounding her chest and crying out, "What a sin! I gave birth to you with so much pain, and you actually side with outsiders instead of your own mother." Chen Hao's face was extremely nankan. He had always maintained the image of a proper civil servant in front of people. Today, not only was his affair confirmed, but he also had an unreasonable mother embarrassing him. "Mom, get up first." Chen Hao patiently tried to pull Yang Yufan up, but Yang Yufan, who was in a fit of anger, of course wouldn't do as he wished. She simply lay down on the ground, shouting for everyone to judge, and saying that she would call the police to arrest Yang Wei, who had bewitched her son. Yang Wei was so scared that her face turned pale, and she hid behind Chen Hao. Seeing this, Yang Yufan quickly got up and pounced towards Yang Wei again. Chen Hao protected Yang Wei and was caught off guard when I kicked him. Flying, Chen Hao fell to the ground in a dog-eating shit posture. I immediately went over and stomped hard on his chest. Oh, I forgot to say that I was wearing high-heeled shoes today. Chen Hao, you damn scoundrel. I was so kind as to taking your mother and Yang Wei, and you actually hid this from me and did such a thing. I kept swearing, cursing his relatives. As soon as Yang Yufan saw her son being beaten, she immediately pulled me away, ignoring Yang Wei. To protect Chen Hao, I then looked at Yang Wei and slapped her on the forehead. "Mistress, bitch, shameless." Finally, I vented my anger and quickly stopped and left, but actually, I was still hiding in a corner watching the show. It was not easy for Chen Hao to stand up. His face was completely bloodless due to the pain. Amid the pointing and whispering of the crowd, he was helped home by his mother. The passers-by recognized me and looked at me with pitying eyes, but I couldn't help but laugh. I had never laughed so happily. "Stop looking at me. You should quickly stock up on some food and drinks. Believe it or not, it's up to you anyway. The end of the world is coming." This was my last bit of kindness under their gazes that made me seem like a madman. I left with a swagger. I had planted the seeds of conflict, and the good show was far from over when I returned to the rental house. The goods delivered by the supermarket had also arrived. I turned on the computer to watch the surveillance and cooked a big lobster. While watching, Yang Yufan was still making a scene. After rubbing safflower oil on Chen Hao, she pointed at Yang Wei and kept cursing, saying that she had been shameless since childhood, hooking up with Chen Hao, and had almost caused him to miss college. Before now, she still wanted to snatch the house from her. "You slut. You're so wanting go seduce someone else. I don't think the child in your belly is my son's at all." "Mom, don't talk nonsense." "How am I talking nonsense? Didn't she have a boyfriend when she was hooking up with you? Who can guarantee that they didn't do anything later?" Chen Hao's expression when looking at Yang Wei became subtle. "Brother Hao, you mustn't believe her. My body belongs to you." When Yang Yufan and Yang Wei started to curse at each other, my lobster was cooked. I took a bite. Delicious. It would be nice to buy a dozen more and freeze them. Thinking of it, I did it. After eating the lobster, I rushed to the supermarket and bought several boxes of seafood and slaughtered live chickens and ducks, brought them home, and froze them. In the evening, I was researching mini vegetable growing videos when Chen Hao actually called. As soon as I answered, he cried and apologized to me, saying he loved me. Idiot. I had beaten him so severely, and he still came back to beg me. Of course, his crocodile tears couldn't move. May checked the surveillance and found that all three of them were actually at home. With equally anxious expressions on their faces, they had actually stopped arguing. It seemed that after cursing at each other, they finally realized that the person paying the mortgage wasn't at home. Chen Hao cried and begged me to go home, but I couldn't see him crying on the surveillance at Ali's side. "I'll stay out tonight. Can you give me some time to calm down?" Okay. Tong Tong. I'm also very sad seeing you leave today. Was more painful than being beaten by you. You know I love you, right? We've been together for so long. I understand you, I said considerately. Don't make things difficult for Auntie Yuri, her only son. She just feels sorry for you and Yang Wei. No matter what, she's carrying your child. It's very hard for a woman to be pregnant. Be nice to her. These extremely saint-like words made me feel nauseous. Chen Hao probably didn't expect me to be so understanding and quickly agreed. "Well, I'll come back tomorrow at noon. I'll bring some delicious food. Then you just wait for me at home. We can discuss things slowly." Yang Yufan suddenly snatched the phone. Tong Tong. It's all Auntie's fault for bringing that slut in. Our house still loves you very much. Please forgive Auntie. I forced out a crying voice. "Auntie, I know, promise me that you won't go out tomorrow. Wait for me to bring you delicious food to honor you, okay?" Okay, Dong Tong. Auntie will definitely treat you like a daughter from now on." Disgusting. I directly hung up the phone. "You'd better Not leave? How can I watch the good show if you leave? On the night before the zombie virus outbreak, I slept extremely soundly when I woke up. The sun was shining brightly outside. I picked up my phone to check the time. Weibo pushed a piece of news. There was a comatose patient in the hospital who suddenly got up and bit people randomly. Now he has been controlled. The official suggested that everyone must pay attention to safety. In my previous life, I didn't notice this global disaster started like this. No one knew why, nor how many people were infected from the very beginning. Then everything started to get chaotic in less than 2 hours. Weibo began to show all kinds of explosive information. Those people who were clearly already dead, even if only a broken leg or half a body was left, with only bones remaining, would still drag their mutilated bodies and pounce on the living with ferocious faces after making breakfast. I ate while browsing the news. The information on the internet was in a mess. He turned on the surveillance and found that Chen Hao and the others were busy taking out all the food and daily necessities at home and putting them together. Yang Wei said in disbelief, "Is there only so little food at home?" Yang Yufan gritted her teeth and said bitterly, "It must be that bitch Yi Tongtong who ate everything up while we were on a trip and not at home." I nodded with a smile. It was me. It was me. This family only cared about scolding me and never cared about my life or death. Chen Hao planned to go out to rob food and drinks. Yang Wei said weakly that she had a stomachache and couldn't go. Yang Yufan coldly glared at her, picked up a kitchen knife from the kitchen, and left with Chen Hao. Great. They even took the tools I had prepared. I was just regretting not being able to see them robbing things when, half an hour later, the WeChat group of the community owners exploded directly. "Damn you, Yang Yufan. You actually took a knife to chop me for a bag of rice. Old hag. You wait, I'll definitely come to your house for revenge. That bitch bit me to snatch the vegetables from my hand. Damn it. I don't even know if she's infected with the virus. Her son is even more ruthless. I saw with my own eyes that he pushed someone into the zombie horde just to run away himself. What a strange family." I saw Yang Yufan sitting on the sofa, directly sending voice messages. "Yes, I have the virus. Watch out for your family to die miserably. You're cursing my son. Go to hell." Truly a family. They had already provoked public anger on the first day. Yang Yufan suddenly threw the blood-stained kitchen knife on the ground. What a crappy knife. It got blunted as soon as it hit the shelf. Yang Wei was startled. "Mom, brother, how? Will they really come to our house to settle the score? Not likely. It's so chaotic outside. Dare they come?" There was a hint of cruelty on Chen Hao's face. They were counting the things they had snatched: a bag of rice, a few bunches of green vegetables, and some sausage. It should last them a few days, but it didn't matter because I had already asked the property staff, who helped me play the broadcast, to turn off their water valve this morning. Seeing that I had been betrayed, he was loyal enough to help me. Also reminded him to stock up on some food now. With only the water stored in the kitchen sink and the water heater, they would soon find out that there was no water. I turned off the surveillance and started researching how to grow vegetables. By dusk, I finally sowed the seeds. Just as I pushed the box to the balcony, I heard a loud roar from downstairs, followed by continuous screams, afraid of being discovered by the curious people who came out to look. I quickly hid back in the living room, pulled the thick curtains tightly, and tried to keep a low profile. But inside the house, I could do whatever I wanted. I took the hot pot base and ingredients and started cooking. No one was competing with me. Could eat to my heart's content. 1 bite of shrimp balls and 1 sip of beer. It was so refreshing. At night, I lay on my bed, watched TV until I fell asleep, and thus easily spent the first night of the apocalypse. The next day, I slept until I woke up naturally, but I didn't want to move at all, so I piled snacks and drinks on the bed and continued to watch TV to pass the time. The days were really carefree, but gradually, the weather got hotter and hotter. This year was unusually hot, and these few days were like being in a furnace. For safety reasons, I didn't install an air conditioner. I could only make do with a fan, eating popsicles and wearing a cold neck ring. I turned on the computer to watch the surveillance and laughed. Yang Yufan was actually kneeling in front of Chen Hao, kowtowing continuously and begging for mercy, and Chen Hao was filming with his phone, while Yang Wei was looking on coldly with a dispirited expression. After filming, Yang Yufan wiped away her tears and snot, raised her head, and drank up the remaining bottled water. "I'm so thirsty, damn it." I suddenly thought of something and opened the WeChat group of the property owner. Sure enough, I saw that Chen Hao had sent out the video. He just took in the video. Yang Yufan was wailing, kowtowing loudly. "I was wrong before. I am kowtowing to you, but our family really doesn't have a drop of water. Please give us some water. You can even make me dive, even drunk my own urine. Please have mercy." No one in the property owner group paid attention to her, but the next moment, I found myself being pulled into another group. The group owner didn't pull Chen Hao. "It's too pitiful for an old person to be like this." That's right, it made my old mother cry. That old woman Yang Yufan deserves it. Whoever wants to save her can go. Alas, everyone has parents. Are you really so indifferent? That's right, if we don't help each other in the apocalypse, what's the difference between us and those zombies outside? We're all murderers. I wasn't surprised at all that there were saints, but you should help those who are worthy. I was helpful and intercepted the surveillance video of Huang Yufan drinking water and sent it out. The property owners were all angry. The person who had just spoken righteously about murderers didn't dare to say anything. The previous group simply disbanded. Chen Hao was dumbfounded and kept cursing. If Chen Hao used to be gentle and refined, now he already had the look of a scoundrel beneath his refined appearance. This was exactly what I wanted, my final revenge. It was several days later when they found out that the water and electricity had been cut. OFFI was grilling lamb kebabs with a smokeless grill. Eating meat every day wasn't very good. I made a plate of salad for myself, added the ripe strawberries. And after eating, I started watering my lettuce seedlings for safety reasons. I no longer pushed the box out to get sunlight, but used an incandescent lamp instead. Fortunately, there were solar panels and batteries at home, so I didn't have to worry about electricity. The surveillance on the computer transmitted voices. I leaned over to look. The good show had arrived. Their food and drinks were almost gone. No one in the community paid attention to them, and they couldn't go out. The three of them, Chen Hao, Yang Yufan and Yang Wei, each had their own thoughts. I saw Yang Yufan pull Chen Hao into the kitchen and whispered, "My dear son, that Yang Wei is cuckolding you. She eats a lot while being pregnant. Keeping her here won't help you find supplies. Why don't we drive her out?" Chen Hao was silent, but I could see that he was hesitant. Yang Yufan probably saw it too, and continued to persuade. "After the virus passes, you can have as many women like Yang Wei as you want. She only graduated from junior high school. She's not worthy of you." Chen Hao nodded, and the two of them whispered to do it tomorrow. An unexpected plot came at night. When they were going to sleep, Yang Wei actually started to seduce Chen Hao. I felt extremely disgusted, and turned off the video, leaving only the sound. Yang Wei kept saying, "Hubby, I love you so much." But Chen Hao no longer responded as he used 2 minutes later. Yang Wei gasped and told Chen Hao that she saw Yang Yufan hiding the food today, and then subtly hinted at driving Yang Yufan out anyway. She was old and wouldn't live long. She and their son were Chen Hao's future family. How wonderful. I turned off the computer and went to bed early to prepare for the finale show tomorrow. On one side was his mother, who would always protect him no matter what, and on the other side was his obedient little mistress who was pregnant. How would Chen Hao choose? The next day, I got up very early. I made shredded meat congee in the rice cooker and ate it happily while blowing the fan in the surveillance. The three of them, Chen Hao, Yang Yufan and Yang Wei, all got up to save food. They didn't make breakfast and just slumped on the sofa. Dazed, I saw Yang Yufan give Chen Hao a wink. Chen Hao immediately pretended to talk to Yang Wei to distract her. Yang Yufan picked up a vase and smashed it towards Yang Wei's head. Yang Wei let out a scream and fainted on the ground. Yang Yufan excitedly worked with Chen Hao to move Yang Wei to the door, taking advantage of the fact that there were no zombies outside. Yang Yufan opened the door and was about to throw Yang Wei out unexpectedly. Yang Wei woke up seeing the scene in front of her. She tightly grabbed the door. This scene was exactly the same as in my previous life. Yang Wei cried desperately, begging them not to treat her like this, asking Chen Hao to think about the son in her belly. "What son? It's a bastard. You just want to make my son a cuckold." Yang Yufan ran into the kitchen to get a kitchen knife, her cloudy eyes staring at Yang Wei fiercely, and excitedly she raised the knife and chopped at her. This was the kitchen knife I had carefully prepared. With a click, it broke in half directly. Yang Yufan was stunned when she saw this. Chen Hao also cursed. Yang Yufan simply used the broken knife to pat Yang Wei's forehead. Blood quickly covered her face. The intense pain and despair inspired Yang Wei's long suppressed anger. She actually broke free from Chen Hao, grabbed the broken kitchen knife, and stabbed Yang Yufan crazily. "Die! Die, you old witch!" Yang Yufan let out a shrill scream. Her body was quickly stained red with blood, and she fell to the ground, stretching her blood-covered hand towards Chen Hao's son. "Save mom." Chen Hao looked at them in horror. Too scared to move, Yang Wei turned towards Chen Hao. Finally, he reacted. His legs were shaking like a sieve. "Wei, let's throw her out quickly. I will definitely treat you well in the future. I love you." Yang Wei had a blank expression and raised the knife towards him, but the next moment, she was knocked down by the zombies that came smelling the blood. One after another. Yang Yufan, who was seriously injured, was also not spared. I saw that Chen Hao was shaking all over. He wanted to close the door while he could, but the door was blocked by Yang Yufan's foot. Without hesitation, he pushed her out and closed the door before a zombie pounced on him. He sat down on the ground with a thud and peed his pants. In fright, "Chen Hao, save me! Help! Son, save me!" Continuous screams came from outside, but soon they stopped. Suiji, the door panel was continuously hit, more and more forcefully and densely. The whole house seemed to be shaking. Chen Hao was filled with despair. The instinct for survival exposed the most evil side hidden deep within people. I saw it again today. I used the computer to control and turn on the speaker of the surveillance. "Chen Hao, remember me?" Chen Hao shuddered violently. His mind was blank now, and he looked around in panic. "You Tong Tong, you're still alive?" I ignored him and continued. "When we first met, we had nothing. I worked hard to make our lives better. Got a house and a car. Why did you betray me?" Chen Hao knelt on the ground and kowtowed randomly. I'm sorry. Tong Tong, please come and save me. As an orphan, I just wanted to have a home. I thought you were my destination. But it seems you've always treated me like an ATM. Your family sucked my blood. And in the apocalypse, you even wanted to throw me out. You piece of trash. Mama's boy. Psycho. Do you know how happy I am to see this scene?" Chen Hao was stunned and lay motionless on the ground. The door panel was smashed through. The zombies that smelled the living rushed in and pounced on Chen Hao. The first ones were the ferocious looking and distorted faced Yang Yufan and Yang Wei. I turned off the surveillance and let out a long, relieved sigh. This was my final revenge. In the first month of lying low in the apocalypse, I finally ate the lettuce I grew myself. It was crispy and delicious, with a bit of sweetness when eaten raw. To celebrate the harvest of my labor, I specially rewarded myself with a meal of dumplings. While watching Iron Man and eating, I suddenly heard a drone flying outside the window. Fortunately, the glass had a one-way film pasted on it. They couldn't see what was inside at all. After circling a few times, it flew away. In the second month of lying low in the apocalypse, it finally rained during the extremely hot weather. My rain water collector came in handy, but I still wasn't functioning. I filtered the water several times with a water purifier, but still couldn't bring myself to drink it. There were no other living things in the house, except Meso. I had to sacrifice one of my vegetables, watering it several times a day to see what would happen. Fortunately, the water was safe. One day in the 3rd month, I was so startled by a sudden knock on the door that I almost screamed through the surveillance. I saw a gaunt man knocking on the door with an iron bar. The iron bar was covered with blood and brain. Like things. Without thinking, I could guess how much effort he had put in to get here. Fortunately, he didn't have any companions and my door was very low. Even so, I still held the portable flamethrower tightly and quietly stood by the door in the apocalypse. I didn't dare to be a saint after knocking a few times and not being able to open the lock. The man gave up. I didn't dare to sleep soundly. These were the most terrifying few days I had experienced in these months. 6 months had passed since the arrival of the apocalypse, and it snowed in the city. I opened a crack in the curtain and observed with a telescope. I found that the cold weather made the zombies' movements very slow, especially since they hadn't eaten the living for a long time. Their bodies began to shrivel. I tore open a bag of chicken feet, ate while tuning the radio, and finally received a signal. The official news asked everyone to pay attention to safety. The country hadn't given up, and also asked the survivors to try to help each other if necessary. They could attract the attention of the team during patrol, and they would be given food. Although I had plenty of things at home, I still felt very excited when I heard such news. But not everyone could receive the official news. I saw many people bravely going out to look for supplies. Another half-month passed, and suddenly many planes flew in the sky, and many cars drove on the ground, starting to spray disinfectant after the planes and cars passed. I heard people cheering outside. I couldn't help but open the window and shout with them. Then more and more people joined in. After continuous spraying for several days, I finally saw people in protective suits starting to clean up the zombies. The zombies were shot in the head and taken away in piles through the surveillance. I also saw people starting to clean up the missed zombies in the building. The next day, someone announced with a megaphone that the community was safe. Survivors, please come down to register. I pulled open the thick curtains, pushed open the window, and welcomed the newborn sunlight. I survived.